Let's start from your release first. Um, your release came as what some people would say it was never expected. What do you have to say about that?
It wasn't expected in the sense that most people thought that Nigeria will continue to make a mess and a fool of itself. Um, so surprisingly, they granted bail, although they had no reason to detain me in the first place. Neither did they have enough reason to continue the detention. So they had no choice, more or less, than to release me. I wouldn't call it a release because you can see the conditions were very stringent and almost primitive to the point of describing what Nigeria is to those who may be outside looking in.
The conditions that were given to you, most of them, which we would say to an extent you've been flouting them, are you not worried about a rearrest?
I've not flattered anything, I've spoken. I have certain rights which are inalienable. You cannot give birth to a child and smack that baby and ask the baby not to cry. It doesn't make any sense. I'm a human being, therefore, I must speak, I must meet my people. I happen to be born into a family that will always receive large numbers of visitors by virtue of the position of my father as the traditional ruler of my people. So the bail conditions, as stringent as they are, is not actually designed to be applied to a human being. Maybe you can apply to a cattle somewhere in the north, but not where I come from. So I must always speak, and I will speak. I will associate with people because that's the right thing to do.
Your release came close to when the Anambra election is coming up, and then close to campaigning activities for the 2019 election. Could you say that this could be political?
Of course not. My release not because most politicians, some of them, didn't want me released, but eventually they came around to it. I've been told, um, on good authority, that most of them turned around and wanted me to be released, maybe because the pressure was too much. With me inside prison, there's no way the Anambra elections could have continued. With me now outside prison, it will not continue. Whether the reasons for their coming to support my eventual release was political or not is neither here nor there because I will not support any electioneering of any sort as long as a date for a referendum hasn't been agreed. Okay.
Yeah, you were talking about elections in Anambra.
Yeah, elections. We are now the IPP that I lead. We're not interested in electioneering in Nigeria because we're moving speedily ahead towards the restoration of Biafra. Therefore, we will not participate nor condone any voting to take place in Biafra land until further notice.
Don't you think having the election fixed for November 2018, actually the Anambra election, don't you think this will be disenfranchising the people?
No, what will be disenfranchising the people is voting in the same set of criminals, wholesomely responsible for the mess we're in today. Workers are not being paid. You can see the very non existent state of our infrastructure. They are no longer dilapidated, they no longer exist. That's the fact. So we want to end our misery, our shame, and our suffering. And the only way to do that is to send a very clear and unambiguous message to whoever may be interested that we are no longer going to participate in any elections until a date for a referendum on the issue of Biafra is set and determined.
Still on Anambra, there were reports that you received 50 million naira and some SUVs, about two of them, from Governor Obiano. Did you receive money from Obiano?
No, I did not.
And SUVs?
No, I did not.
Okay. Chidoka, Osita Chidoka. Osita Chidoka was the one who took the bull by the horn.
Yes.
And came to pick you up from Kuje prison on
Yes.
the day of your release, and he drove you out of Kuje prison down to the Federal High Court.
Yes.
He's coming out for election in 2018, Anambra election.
Yes.
Does that have anything to do with your release?
Not at all. I've made it very clear there will be no elections in Anambra State. And that's how it's going to be. There will be no elections.
But do you think, have you known him before now?
I've heard about him. He's a very popular fellow. So I've known him. He's
Not in a close relationship.
No, of course not.
So, but you never wondered why he came to the prison to pick you up by himself?
Because he was a conscientious Biafran and a respected Igbo man.
Yes, talking about Biafra at 50 event, you were not there.
Yes.
The IPOB was not there, not a representative of any sort.
Yes.
Do you think you were being represented in some, form of, because they were talking about Biafra, they were talking about reconciliation, they were talking about reconstruction and rehabilitation? I mean, if they could think about it now, do you think that event is a good move?
It's a good move because it allowed the likes of Onyawodo and Professor Nwala to speak. If you listen very carefully to the speech of Onyawodo, you will see that it contained a lot of issues and points which strike at the heart of this very agitation that we're involved in. Also, if you adopt the position of Professor Nwala, you will see that that comes closest to what we are asking for. So it was a very good forum and platform to ventilate some of these issues. And we adopt the position of Professor Nwala as being what came closest to actually identifying with our state of mind and how we want all these issues to be addressed in the long run. So Biafra at 50 was a momentous event because the same Obasanjo said that Biafra was dead and buried, but you had Biafra emblazoned behind him in Abuja a few weeks ago, which is a testament to the fact that the spirit of Biafra lives and that Biafra can never ever be dead nor buried.
Going forward, having had Biafra at 50 events, do you think it's right for people who had experienced the Nigerian Biafra civil war, the victims of this war, do you think it's right for them to be able to tell their stories, what they experienced at that time?
Of course, it's a very good idea for them to tell their stories, but their experience is only there to guide us going into the future. It is not there to act as some kind of a threat or an overbearing influence, a negative one at that, to compel us to stop what we are doing. That is the mistake that people make. Our fathers fought their own war. We are not seeking to fight any war. We will not fight any war, but should it come to it, we have every right to defend ourselves. Israel have been fighting wars for the past, heaven knows, 6,000-7,000 years. They're still fighting wars. Even as at 2 days ago, they were somewhere around Golan Heights fighting. If people bring war to you, there is nothing you can do about it. Gowon brought war to Ojukwu. They called it police action. They brought war to the land of Biafra, and we had to defend ourselves. That is a historical fact, and that is the truth. They keep hiding it. They keep massaging it. They keep trying to keep it away from public understanding. That's why they don't teach history in their schools. What we are saying is that having the experience of the war or having them narrate it is a very good thing, so we will not make the mistakes that they made in terms of preparedness and all the rest of it. We are not seeking for war, but if people were to come to our homes to try to kill us, to rape our daughters, to abduct our women, then we have every right to resist that.
Yeah, speaking about Ojukwu, I saw one of the videos that Gowon made just immediately after the war, and he said that Ojukwu at some point became jittery and he ran away. That was his word exactly, that he ran away. What do you think about that?
He did not run away. He went on exile. It was a carefully thought out and a calculated move designed to save the situation, because Christian countries had abandoned Biafra. Most of our allies did not want to come to our aid for the very simple reason that nobody wanted Biafra to emerge, not because of any other reason other than the fact that they did not want Africa to be set free. Biafra represented freedom not just for Biafra, but for the entire African sub-Saharan continent, and also the entirety of black race all over the world. So it was a grand conspiracy. And when the conspirators overwhelmed us, Ojukwu had no choice other than to try and leave the country.
Ojukwu is late, but does he inspire you in any way?
Of course, because he started it. Ojukwu was the one who stood up to pronounce the modern Biafra. So in that respect, in that regard, he's a very huge inspiration and remains our supreme leader anytime, any day.
Yeah, but recently, some of the IPOB members seem to call you the supreme leader. I mean, like, doesn't that take that away from Ojukwu?
No, I am the supreme leader of indigenous people of Biafra.
Okay.
Ojukwu is the supreme leader of the whole of Biafra.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.